I'm going to introduce to you my friend Lucy Beer. She owns her own consultancy where she helps individuals and small businesses and sometimes large businesses use WordPress, and you train them. Then also you specialize in marketing and using WordPress to do marketing. Is that a good way to describe it?
That's pretty good.
Okay. So I guess I'll let you take it from there the rest of the way. But this is Lucy Beer, and she's very knowledgeable about WordPress, so listen to her.
Thanks. Hey, some of you I know, some of you I don't. Can you hear me? Just, okay. I'll try and remember to yell. So 10 tips for blogging success. Really, it's not necessarily just blogging, it's just website success, I guess. So like Greg said, I mostly these days teach people how to use WordPress, so individuals, bloggers, businesses. I teach them how to use it. I do a little bit of development as well, but I've been using WordPress since about 2004, just for my own little projects and whatnot. I come from a marketing background. Used to do a lot of marketing in like the music industry, but since about 2009 I've been doing all WordPress all the time, and that's much more fun. So since I work with a lot of people who are just starting out in WordPress, this is kind of a compilation of tips based on really common problems or common like mindsets that people have when they're starting out, and some ways to kind of deal with that. So there's going to be 10 of them. So the first one is that if you're thinking about building a site, you want to think about your content before you think about choosing your theme, right? Choosing a WordPress theme is, I think, one of the harder parts of building a site, because there's so many, and sometimes you don't exactly know what you're getting until you get it. But the main point of your site is to hold content, so you want to start with that first. And just try and figure out a basic sitemap, which is basically, it could be drawing boxes on a page. It could just be a bullet list of different sections that you want. But just something basic so that you have a plan in mind of what content that you need for your site, so that when you're looking at themes, you can kind of imagine it a little better, like how's that going to work for you, instead of, if you just browse themes, you tend to get caught up in like the pretty like big slider images and things like that, and that may or may not be appropriate for what you're doing. So it's a little easier if you come to it from the perspective of what you're actually trying to build. And this video by, some of you probably know Natalie because she runs the SoCal meetup here in LA. But she has a video on WordPress.tv, which is an awesome resource in general. But she has this video called How to Set Up a Website the Right Way. And if you're just starting, definitely watch that video, because she like breaks down the process of planning your site and all this stuff, and it's just really valuable. So some of these tips are, WordPress specific, and a lot of them are not, just because, like I said, they're based on just a lot of common problems that people have in general when they're starting out. So this is a real general one, which is a lot of people kind of think that, they think they're going to get rich quick, or they have some big grandiose plan of how they're going to make money and sell advertising and all this stuff. And that might happen, but it's probably going to take a while. It's probably going to take longer than whatever you think, because most people that I work with anyway, they have a job already and they're doing this on the side, or they're just trying to get it going. So most people are limited on time, so they're not just sitting around all day long, blogging and tweeting and all this stuff. So unless you're doing it full time, it's probably going to take you a while to get this thing up and running, whether it's a blog or a website or whatever, to get traffic and build an audience and all of that. So you really have to be sort of in it for the long term. So it's important that you have some motivation that's going to sustain you. So whether it's just that you're really passionate about the topic, and you'll write about it regardless of who's coming to the site or not, But it's good to kind of keep some goals in mind, like what is the purpose, basically, of what you're doing. Have some goals in mind, have some purpose in mind when you're doing this so that it can kind of sustain you, because in the beginning it's maybe not that rewarding. It's going to take a while to get, you know, comments and all of those things, those more tangible things that let you know that you're doing something right. So yeah, it's important to have motivation that's going to keep you going. To that end, a lot of people in the beginning are really obsessed with their stats and how much traffic that they're getting and stuff like that. And it's really kind of maybe depressing in the beginning. Like, you're not getting a whole lot of people. It takes a while. So just like, don't be obsessed with that. You know, be sort of mindful. You want to see things moving in the right direction generally. You want to see that you're getting some more traffic from search engines, or your posts are getting views, but you just don't want to get obsessed with that. You shouldn't be checking your stats like every day or anything. You want to be more focused on writing content and stuff like that. So this is kind of on the similar note. You want to be really focused with what you're doing, and you want to be consistent. Like, I think that's probably the number one, one of the number one like stumbling blocks that people have. They either give up too soon, or they're just not consistent in what they're doing, and so then they get frustrated that they're not getting any results. So you need to, you know, if it's a blog that you're setting up, you need a blog regularly, whether that's, you know, once a week, twice a week, whatever it is. Get yourself on a schedule, because unless you're really consistent with everything you're doing, that applies, you know, not just to blogging, but to any other of your online efforts, whether that's, you know, tweeting or Facebooking or whatever. You've just got to be really consistent with what you're doing and really like focused as far as like going back to what your goals are, like who you're trying to reach. Just be really strategic with everything that you're doing, so you're not wasting time and you're just focusing in on things that are going to hopefully get you results. Consistency is like one of the number one things that's going to contribute to your success. Yeah, launching the website is, you know, people get obsessed with, oh, I'm going to launch my website. And that's just like the beginning. That's like the first step, right? Because after that, you have to maintain the site and you have to create content and all of that. And that's really like, you know, the important stuff. So it's not just about the launch. It's about always refining as well. That's why I say like your website's never really done. Do you have a question?
Since you have a background in marketing, do you suggest actually doing a press release when you launch out your website?
No, not necessarily. I don't
Why
really.
not necessarily?
It depends what your website is. I mean, is there like an angle there? Is anyone going to care that you've launched your website? Most people think everyone's going to care, and most people probably aren't going to care. It's true. Like, you have to make them care with what you write,
Okay.
right? You have to draw people in, unless you're some big company, you know, that people are already paying attention to. So just saying, hey, I've got a website is not really news to anyone. You have to, you know, through a content strategy and through regular, you know, posting and all of that, that's how you kind of make people care at all. Yeah.
I'm guessing it probably depends on your type of site, but
Mhm.
you on a schedule, time frame, or do you have any examples?
Well, all I mean is that it should be something that's realistic for you, because another thing that people do is they get all gung-ho and they're like, I'm gonna post 5 times a week, and that lasts for like 3 weeks, and then once they get off that schedule, they start getting discouraged, and then it all just goes downhill. So if once a week is realistic, then do that.
Is that realistic?
Yeah, and then once you've kind of got that under your belt, then maybe add in twice a week if it's doable. And you know, with WordPress, you can schedule posts. So if you can get ahead of yourself, if you just like have a day where you write 3 posts, you can schedule them, you know, so one goes today, one goes next week, whatnot, and now you're 3 weeks ahead of your schedule, and that's, you know, that's going to help you as well. So you're not always like clamoring to write stuff.
I didn't know that. Okay, yeah.
Oh, so Flare. What I consider Flare is just adding like tons of widgets to your site that don't really do anything in particular. Like, people put everything in their sidebars. And so this just goes back to, you know, being focused, not just in the content, but in like the design, I guess, of your site, right? Just don't fill up space just to fill up space. If you look at a lot of, well, I like to read the blogs of like Unbounce.com and Kissmetrics. There's two companies that specialize in like optimizing sites for conversions and things like that. And if you look at their blogs, like they're really kind of minimal because they're just focused on a few things. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here is everything that you're doing should just really be focused around whatever your goal is. So if that's getting more email signups or just getting people to follow you on Twitter, whatever you've determined is important, then you want to think about your site and tend to that. Yeah.
What were those blogs?
Unbounce and Kissmetrics.
Kissmetrics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they make some kind of analytics software or something, but they have a blog where they post really good info, and you can kind of see both of them are similar, like really like minimalistic designs. So I figure if they're doing it, it probably works. Asking for help. So a lot of you, well, if you're beginners, well, whatever stage you're at, really, we all need help sometimes. And even better is free help. And in this community, there is a lot of free help to be had. But you'd be surprised. This sounds silly, right? Be nice and, respect people's time. That's like, to me, that's, basic sort of politeness. But you'd be surprised that some people don't know that, apparently. So especially if you're asking, for some kind of free help, like say thank you, just be nice, be polite. But there's a lot of places to get help. There's meetups like this. Most people in the community are really happy to talk and exchange ideas and answer questions. Online there's lots of different forums. There's the WordPress.org forums where you can get help too. There's some great Facebook groups. I guess I'll post these somewhere so you don't have to worry about writing down the links, but there's a couple of Facebook groups especially for kind of newer users. There's one called WP for the non-technical. If you do a search, you'll probably find it. WP for the non-technical. And then the other one is it's just called WordPress Help, I think. But those are two groups that you can join, and it's it's a lot of beginners, so no stupid questions there. Like you can ask for whatever you need, and people will help you. But really important when you're asking for help is being able to actually describe the problem that you're having. Don't just write, the internet's broken, or it doesn't work, or whatever.
But the internet is broken.
I'm sure we've all had, classic emails from clients that are like, I don't know what you're talking about because the internet's not broken for me. But so basically the thing is, like, don't try and use jargon if you don't know what it means, because sometimes that confuses things, like because I'll understand a term one way and you understand it another way, and that doesn't help. So as long as you can just describe your problem, like what should be happening, what are you clicking, and what's going wrong. Take screenshots. That's golden. So Sketch is a free tool. You can take screenshots, and you can even annotate it, draw arrows and type on it and stuff. Jing is a free thing that will let you take a little screencast, like record like a video and upload it. So those kinds of things are really valuable. So whenever you're posting or emailing someone and asking for help, like just follow these steps, because the more information that you can provide, the better that you can explain what's going on, the easier it is for someone to help you. You don't want, if you're trying to get some free help, you don't want people to be like, really knocking their heads against the wall, just trying to understand what's going wrong. Oh yeah, this is just my personal thing. The word emergency, that's like a no-no. He understands.
Especially if you hire a consultant, don't use the word emergency with the consultant.
Use that.
It's like their eyes will glaze over. They will stop listening.
Yeah, even all caps is kind of like on the edge. But I mean,
And the flag.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the red flag.
So the problem with these things, because I sit with clients sometimes and they have like a web person, and something's up with the server or whatever, and we have to email them. and they want to like type emergency, emergency, and I'm like, no, don't say that. It's not an emergency. It's not stopping us from doing something. Just let's explain what's going on. So the reason I say that is because you don't want to piss people off, and if you overuse that, if you're one of those people that just throws it around, then it's gonna start to not have the effect that you want anymore. So just explain your problem and keep it calm, and you'll have a better relationship long term with whoever that other person is, in my opinion. So okay, this is a huge problem that I come across all the time with clients, is that we sit down to work on their site and they don't have the login, they don't know where the site's hosted, they don't know where they bought their domain, like they can't get into their stuff. And this is in a lot of cases, this is their business, and they just don't have the access. It's like, the keys to your house or your car, like you want to hold on to all this information. And I think the problem a lot of times is that people don't understand, like, what's FTP, what's all of these passwords, and so they kind of like don't want to deal with it. But it's really important, even if you don't understand what it is, just keep all of that information, because you're wasting time. A lot of times you're probably paying for stuff that you don't need because of it. Like I just had a client the other day who sent me some login information for her site, and I was like changing files and it wasn't changing on the website. Eventually I found out that was not actually where the site was hosted. She had 2 separate hosting accounts and she didn't even realize. So anyway, there's some tools here that I use to track down what's going on. Whoishostingthis.com, really handy. Yeah.
Similar to what we were talking about earlier with SSH, if you're working with someone that doesn't give you this information, run.
Red flag.
Just know if you're working with consultants that are doing WordPress theming, WordPress sites, if you ask them, well, I want an admin account for my WordPress site and I want the registration information for the domain, and they say, well, we don't give that out, that's not a person you want to work with.
That is very true. Yeah, this is your information. So whoishostingthis.com will just tell you where the site's being hosted. That's what I used in the case I was just talking about. Networktools.com. There's a bunch of techie stuff in there, but sometimes you can just figure out where a domain's been registered or where the name servers are in case you need to point the domain somewhere else. And whois.com will let you know who's actually registered a domain. So these are just a few things that can help when you're trying to track down your information, basically.
Lucy, can I jump in on that too? There's another thing about specifically knowing where your domains are registered is really important, because that's one where other companies will try and poach you. I just a couple of days ago, I had one of my clients say, hey, is this legit? And just forwarding me a message that was trying to phish him to try and steal basically make him sell them his domain by making it look like it was a re-registration.
So it's like an email that says your domain's going to expire or something, but it's not from the company you actually bought it from. So
pay us $300 and we'll take over the registration.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Wow.
Just a quick question. Buying the privacy thing when you register a domain, does that stop that? Or is that a whole other outside thing?
It should stop them from being able to email you directly. Yes.
That's not it. If they find your email, they can still solicit and try to trick you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So know your stuff. Oh yeah, 1Password and LastPass. There's a bunch of other tools, but to help with your own just gathering all this info and keeping it secure, and to save you from reusing really weak passwords all the time, you want to have something like 1Password or LastPass. There's others as well, but these tools will help you keep your information safe, and so that you don't have to remember all of the passwords all the time. So they're just tools to help you manage all of the different accounts that you inevitably end up with: your hosting, your domain, your analytics, your email, all that stuff. So I really recommend getting one of these tools to help you with that.
Those websites, 1Password?
No, they're actually, LastPass is a cloud-based thing. They're like, 1Password is something you download onto your computer. And they have like a browser add-on, and it helps remember your logins and things like that.
Some of them are connected to like antivirus products as well. Like, forget certain antivirus programs will have part of that antivirus package being a password manager. You can access the website. Some of them will sync with Dropbox. Some of them will sync with. There's all sorts of different ones out there depending on how you want it to work.
Yeah, but something. Get something.
There's one more thing with the new operating system from Apple. It's actually built in.
Oh, it is?
iCloud sync.
Okay.
No, there is a new built-in thing to basically replace 1Password.
Cool. So there's plenty of options.
If you're on a whole Apple environment.
So getting people to care about your blog, a lot of people are kind of egocentric with their blogs. Let's put it that way. So, you know, others are more important than yourself when it comes to having a successful blog. Like I was saying before, you basically have to give people a reason to read. So usually, you know, if it's a business and you're blogging for your business, usually you're kind of answering questions that customers usually have, or you're just talking about different topics that are specific to your business, solving problems basically of some kind. Like people are searching for answers to stuff and they find your blog and you've written something useful about it. If you're not being useful, then you better be really hilarious. Otherwise, I mean, you've got to be offering something. So it kind of falls into those two categories, like useful information or useful entertainment, I guess. So, and in the beginning, especially, you have to blog as if you have the biggest audience in the world, even though you don't. Because what you're doing is like you're building, you know, a library of content that is going to help you with search engine optimization, and when you do have an audience, it's going to be there for them to find. But you have to work on building that even if no one's reading it yet. So don't wait for the audience before you start writing regularly. You have to do it the other way around. Try not to compare yourself to other blogs too much. That'll make you feel bad. That's just a good life lesson. Don't compare yourself to other people. And try and, you know, help other bloggers, network with other people. Offline networking is really valuable, I think, just as much as online. So basically, you know, do what you can to help other people in your community. And help future you. What that means is that you need to start building your platform, or whatever you want to call it, before you even need it. Like a lot of times people start a site and they think it's just a hobby and they don't really care about making money, for example, at that time, but at some point they will want to. So you want to start kind of implementing the foundation for that sooner rather than later. Start collecting email addresses. I like to use MailChimp for that. So start collecting emails, you know, build your social networks, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Start it, you know, in the beginning. Don't wait until you're at that point where suddenly you decide you want to sell advertising or whatever it is. Start building early. Analytics we kind of talked about, so you can start tracking what's going on your site. Yeah, so these are things that your future self will appreciate, because you're just trying to set up the foundation for success early on. So WordPress is awesome because it's free and there's a lot of free stuff you can do, and you can build an entire site for free, which for a lot of people is fine, especially if it's, you know, just a blog or whatever. But if you're building a business around WordPress, then it's kind of good to pay for some stuff. We want to, you know, I want to anyway, like contribute to the community. I also want to help other developers like have a sustainable business, so that if I'm using their product that's helping my business, like I want them to stay in business, right? I don't want to rely on some plugin or some theme that's, you know, going to disappear because the developer's not making enough money. So there are some things that are worth paying for. You're also paying to get, you know, support hopefully, and updates and secure code and things like that. So a few things that I pay for these may not apply to you, but I'll pay for themes, I pay for desktop server, I pay for a few plugins. Gravity Forms is one, MemberPress. These are just a few different plugins that I happen to like that kind of fit my needs, but you can do a lot for free, but there may be some cases where it is actually worth forking over that money. Sometimes there's an arc that people go through where they're excited that everything is free in WordPress at the beginning, and they're like, wow, this is so cool, and then after a while, I mean, they think it's cool, but they get kind of like mad if people try and make money from a plugin or something. But it's not a bad thing, because we want these tools to stay around so we can keep using them. Good hosting is another thing that I will pay for as well. And I'll name names. I would pay for WP Engine for hosting. For more affordable hosting, maybe for smaller traffic sites, I like a company called SiteGround. That's it. So your Toolbox as a blogger or an online person, these are just some tools that I like to use. You might find different ones, but I need help like remembering things, like capturing my ideas, and then making it easy to share that stuff. So Evernote I use a lot. I have it on my computer and on my phone, so if at any point that I have an idea for a blog post, I could just put it right in there. I write up all my drafts in Evernote, generally speaking. IFT, that's actually a website, IFT.com. It stands for if, this, then that. So it's, do you have a story? All right, tell us afterwards. Yeah, so it's really cool. It lets you connect like all these different social channels. So for example, a simple thing that I use it for is I use Digo for bookmarking websites. So I have a thing set up where when I bookmark a site in Digo, through IFT, it automatically will send out a tweet, or it'll send it to Buffer, which will send out a tweet, or will send it to my Facebook page or whatever. So you can kind of automate a few things. I don't like to automate everything, but if I'm going to bookmark a site because I think it's really useful and it's something that I would share anyway, like I just want that to happen automatically, so it's less stuff that I have to do. There's a little, most of these things have little browser extensions, so if I'm on a website, I can, click my Digo button and, do that, or I can click the button for Buffer and have it to go out to Facebook and Twitter. Hootsuite is another good one for managing social networks. Feedly I like for RSS subscriptions now that Google Reader's gone away, and that integrates with a lot of these other social things, so that lets me subscribe to a bazillion different blogs and just read them all in one place. I have that on my phone as well. Skitch, I already talked about the screenshots, and I use 1Password for password management, but there's a lot of those as well. So basically, you want to find tools that are going to help you be more efficient, because you don't want blogging or updating your site or any of these things, you don't want them to be like a burden, because then you won't do it. If something's easy, you're more likely to do it. So that's why I like to use these, because it just, it takes less time for me to get stuff done. And finally, this is another thing that a lot of people want to run away from, but you've got to learn how to work with images. Nothing fancy, just learn how to crop an image, how to resize an image, learn the basic terms how to work with the dimensions of an image, the resolution, and the file size. And the reason I say this is because, there's a lot that goes into how fast that your site loads, but one of the biggest things that you have control over, and that's a huge contributing factor to a slow site, is just the images that are on your site. People upload images that are just way bigger than they need to be, and a lot of times the theme will crop them down and they don't look right anyway. So you can fix a lot of that stuff if you just take a little time to learn just some basic image editing stuff. So I use Photoshop, but there's a lot of all of these other things are free. So GIMP is a application you can download. I think it's for Mac or PC. That's free. If you have a Mac, you have Preview, and you can do basic cropping and resizing in that. And then these are a few just websites where you can like upload an image and crop it and do other things online. So there's a lot of free ways you can do this stuff, but it's really going to make a difference for your site because you're going to have pictures that fit where they should fit and are not like dragging down your site. So don't run away from this. And I think that that's it. Any questions?